or late 2019 and into the early 2020s, where almost every aspect of our life was shut down due to social distancing and measures to curb or stop the spread. So all over the world, education was locked down, and we think that even in Nigeria, there is need to provide alternative to at least keep some skeletal service, educational service going on, including like lecture delivery or contact between students and teachers or lecturers somehow. So that's why we created this platform, just to educate or to sensitize educationists, students, parents, and so that we have a sense of continuity in our education, because you can't live without education anyway. So this is how this platform started. At the end of this program, I will share our website, our YouTube channels, where you can see our program for those that are coming for the first time anyway. Others, I think they are familiar with this. So today we have two great personalities like Dr. Rislan and Dr. Najib will be taking us through this webinar. And we'll be here. I and Abdul will be, responding to your technical challenges, or if you have questions, you can send them through the chat box if you have the facility. And the recorded, if in case of any technical problem, the whole webinar will be recorded, and we will polish it a bit and then send it or share it through your registered emails. So if you have any problem, please, we are here to respond. And if it is a question regarding the webinar, so they will look at it. Those that we can attend at the end, we will try to respond. Otherwise, we will send through your email. So please indicate your email when you ask a question so that we can respond accordingly. So without much taking much of your time, so I will hand over to our first speaker, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nora. I appreciate your commitment for starting on time. Yeah, so I'm not going to worry too much of us with the PowerPoint, and I would love to make this our engagement to be interactive. Please do stop me anytime you want to share some thought or some further information. Let's try and do something different beyond just the two-way handshake. More of, one-way handshake. Let's do a two-way handshake. I'm sure many of us have a lot of data to add to this engagement. So we try to focus our discussion point around 5 major area. We'll start by giving food for thought, and maybe we share some of our ranking in the global visibility. We'll look at our capabilities in the internet economy, in R&D, doing things online, and possibly our ranking within in the SME, startup, and innovation ecosystem. Then we'll show some reality about jobs in Nigeria. There is a lot of things for us to learn from what is happening. Then we'll try to give intervention by trying to focus our energy towards trying to leverage on the gap, identify to add value, and possibly we can exploit some economic, cultural, or social opportunities. Then in the last, my senior colleague Najib will definitely show us some possibility for the future. And this drama or talking about job nowhere but everywhere is a very topic that I've been following up for quite a long time. And practically on almost every day, we get interaction with our friends, brothers, sisters, nieces, and nephews asking for how do we get job, and some of us used to say, that is job, but how do you grab this job? So we'll try and do something around that area. So I'm not going to worry you too much about introduction. We'll just move on. So our inspiration for this is generated from an effort undergoing by various United Nations collaborative agencies. And I'm very sure, maybe I ask this question, how many of us are familiar with SDG goals? How many of us are familiar with SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals?
I am, sir.
Yeah, so how many goals
I'm
do you
familiar with
know?
them, sir.
Sorry?
Sir, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Please repeat your question. Thank you.
I see, how many of us are familiar with SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals? Because it's a new word in town.
Yes, I said I am familiar with the 17 sustainable goals of the United Nations.
Okay, excellent. So do you have any other participant here that is familiar with or is doing something around that axis? Because it's something that I know colleagues from universities, colleagues from the industry, colleagues from the government, and also colleagues from the society, they are trying to meet as a converging point, trying to see how we can address some few goals. So I know of recent, I hosted the African chair for International Telecommunication Union and also African chair for International Labour Organization. So they're working together towards trying to tweak our attention towards creating jobs for the future. And if you look at the two organizations, ITU is a lead in terms of digital economy, telecommunication, computer systems, and so on and so on within the United Nations system. And the ILO is also in charge of regulating, supporting, and also amplifying employment ecosystem within the UN system. So the ILO identify a gap, the ITU identify a gap, and they meet at a converging point. How do we sensitize our youth? How do we sensitize our older generations to start thinking for the future? Because beyond pandemic that is militating us now, there is existing problem. There is so many existential threats. If you look at the global warming or carbon emission is one of the major problem. And I know many of our colleagues are working towards fighting the global warming. All countries are working so hard to see how they can reduce their carbon footprint. And I know recently the global leaders are all trying to explore Mars and other worlds behind us or surrounding us to see how we can use scientific method to reduce the effect of the global warming. Then the major or the second existential threat after global warming is digitization or digitalization or computerization is a major problem. And this major dilemma, I think, is our center point for today. A lot of countries are thriving, working so hard to see how they can revamp their ecosystem, how they can improve their employability rate, how they can improve their research and innovation ecosystem through leveraging on digital transformation, maybe also digital competence and digital literacy. We'll talk more on that in the future. But the key message here is if I go to the indicators, we'll see we're not doing well. We put these indicators not because we want to provoke some of you, but just to show where we are, because it's important we know the history. If we know where we are, then we can begin to plan to fill in the gap, and then we can do something better. So if I go back to the point of discussion of our inspiration is we know there is opportunity. Yes, if I show the data, we'll see where we are doing too well, but there is also a gap. I just read a report recently, the World Development Report, where World Bank admitted that yes, there is significant development with digital development in Africa and other developing countries. But sadly, the impact or the value derived from these digital interventions, they are very scanty. We could not make any legitimate claim to say these have really changed because we are falling apart in the other global indicators. And there is a lot of very, well, I can say there is a lot of key competency we have, but we're not exploiting around that area. So what we are trying to do today, based on this, our inspiration is to see how we can maybe create our interest or attention towards seeing the need to rejig our entrepreneurship ecosystem towards more e-entrepreneurship. We'll talk more on e-entrepreneurship. And we'll also share some data from Simedan, how we are doing in terms of entrepreneurship in Nigeria. And this is also something that really interests many of us. Majority of us say we're entrepreneurs, but honestly speaking, we're not entrepreneurs. We have maybe self-employment, because entrepreneurship is about innovating. Are we innovating? Are we changing the way things is been done for good? Are we changing the bad things for good? And usually when you say entrepreneurship is about exploiting social, cultural, and financial ecosystem to add value. And this adding value doesn't really mean making money. It's maybe getting influence, maybe getting recognition, and so on and so on. So there is a lot of work for us to do to rejig our entrepreneurship ecosystem towards more realistic way of doing things. If I give you an example, if you look at the digital job market globally, the number one leaders, the global leaders are India. India have taken over 26% of the digital job market in the world. If you take, for example, in every 100 guys you see working in the digital job market, 26 are from India. And one thing that may provoke many of us here is the second country is not the US, it's not the UK, it's not China, it's not Vietnam, it's Bangladesh, 16%. I was privileged to meet the Minister of Digital Economy, and some of the key things they are doing, they're very ambitious. They say they want to cut off that by maybe to improve that by about 6-7% before the end of this year. So it's a big thing they're doing. And also in Nigeria, there is a lot of commitment, a lot of action point, a lot of palliative is put in there. But are we really getting what we are planning to have from this intervention from the labor side of the slope? Then, if you look at the investment in digital literacy, digital skills, I think for now I can see that is good digital literacy in Nigeria. The pandemic have scaled up, have speed up digital literacy. So I think it's important if we can begin to put all our energy towards digital competence. So I will talk more on the digital competence journey. And it's important all of us begin to do this. I talk to my colleagues most of the time from the technology market or sector in computer science. Majority of us claim to be computer scientists or tech guys, but can we do a basic engineering work? Can we do a simple scientific task? And beyond that, can we do a simple task online? Do we stop asking a question that we don't even need to ask question? Because there is a lot of tools that have taken over most of the thing that we need to use our mental capability to do it. And if we can use this type of tools, using the digital competence capability we drive, we can begin to push our energy towards doing things in a more positive way. So there is a lot of things in this area, this point number 2. I know Nigerian government is working so hard about bringing digital literacy to a doorstep. And I also know the effort this firm is doing, the OpenSchool, is also part of the initiative to speed up our digital literacy journey. And the problem here is majority of us assumed computer literacy is digital literacy. So it's a two different things. Computer literacy is different from digital literacy. Computer literacy is the ability for someone to align his computer literacy and information literacy and to function in a network economy. Even though you have the good phones, you know how to use the phone, you have the computer, you have the internet, you know how to sign up to Facebook, but you are still broadcasting fake news. I don't see you as a digital literate, because part of digital literacy, you need to be a proper digital citizen. And if I go to the last part of our inspiration is how do we prepare small companies and government to serve as a labor intermediation to speed up legislation in terms of digital job and digital services. I was following up with the World Economic Forum debate this year and last year. The key point of the key point of World Economic Forum debate last year is about taxation in the digital economy, data localization. The European guys are not happy. I heard this from the German Chancellor. She was very bitter that she said, we can't take this anymore. You generate the data in the EU, you take it up to the US, you do the analytics, then you make the money, then you pay the tax there, and we end up not doing anything. And the same thing in Nigeria. A colleague of mine was sharing this data with me a few days ago that the profits MTN made last year is bigger than all the profits Nigerian banks made last year. And the MTN, I think, had about 1,200 staff when I checked their website, permanent staff. So all the banks in Nigeria, they couldn't make the profit MTN have acquired last year. So it's a big thing that we can begin to think of. And also why Nigeria is the best GDP in Africa is because of this sector. But if you look at the Human Development Index, Human Readiness Index, and so on and so on, you can see we are going not too well. If you run a correlation, for people like us that do a lot of data analytics, if you run a correlation, you see a big gap. So there is a lot of work that everyone must do to complement this effort. And it's not just the government, it's not just the private sector, it's not just the academia. There is a need for a consensus to have a common ground. And if you look at what the ILO is doing and ITU is, when they came to Nigeria, they visited the Ministry of Digital Economy and Communication. They visited the Ministry of Youth and Development. And they had interaction with the civil society, NGOs, and private operators. Then they came to us, university. I think they just visited only my university when they came. And we had a consensus. We put some action point. So sad, the pandemic have taught us not too much has been done, but we have been following up with what they are doing, and we are learning from what they do. So it's a collaborative effort. In our local community, we need to begin to think, how do we use the mosques, the social structure, which means the traditional institutions, the youth group, and also the social media influencers, to see how we can improve what we are doing, and also to see how we can begin to measure our capability and competency. Are we doing well with what we are doing? If not, how do we improve? It's good to always do a bench learning, not just benchmarking. I mean, I've just said it now, the global job market, India have taken 26%, Bangladesh have taken about 16%. I haven't gotten the data from I think November to date, but I'm sure a lot had changed, and also in Nigeria. So this is our inspiration, and this is, I think we need to take very serious, and we also need to commit ourselves. It's something that all of us must do to extend this status quo. So I mean, if I move on to the main point for today, food for thought. So I got this from Professor Chris Onalo in one of his presentations. And for me, I 100% confirm about this. And what he said is 95% of Nigerian graduates cannot get jobs, which is true. And if you look at the data we put in a comment slide, this is more realistic because I think in Simeden they said in every 100 graduates, only one get job. So this guy is a bit more, more gentle in terms of putting things so that we don't get provoked. That only about 95% got job, and of that 25, I mean of that 5% that are working, they got the job through connections, not because of what they know from the university. Yes, it's true, and I'm not sure maybe the rest. This is reality. You can't get a job because of what you know. In our current reality, in only few cases where competency and capability is been seen as a major driver. And one thing with the labor market is it keeps changing. You know, it keeps changing. Just as my colleague Nora said earlier, when the pandemic came, a lot of things happened. A lot of business model have to be rejigged. A lot of business process have to be rejigged. A lot of us have to learn to start doing things in a different way. You can't say this is how I know how to do things before and I don't want to change. You'll be lost out. So, and this pandemic and its consequences is the new normal. You know, it's a new normal. The digital job market is really booming. Higher education are moving online. Primary school are moving online. Businesses, startup, SMEs, a lot of work ongoing. And I'm happy to share with you that some countries have started putting this type of things in the top level. I can share with you Dubai. Dubai had a Ministry of Artificial Intelligence before. But with the pandemic, they have to extend the portfolio of the minister to Ministry of Artificial Intelligence and application of remote work. Because remote work is part of us. And this pandemic have really scaled up most of what we wanted to do with the technology. I'll give you an example. The NUC, the Ministry of Education, Commission for College of Education, NBT are all pushing universities, polytechnics, College of Education. You have to start learning online. You have to start leveraging on technology. So for me, I can say this is something that this is a negative, I mean positive consequences of some of what is happening. So most of our bosses are giving us money as palliatives to rejig our IT ecosystem, to improve the bandwidth capacity, to do digital literacy training, to start investing in cloud computing, to start investing in AI. And the emerging technologies that can enable the possibility and also the way we live in the post-pandemic era. And one key message here we can drive, or especially we can drive from this quote is, our universities are to be blamed, but they in turn lament how poorly funded they are. Yes, university had a blame, we had a blame, polytechnic had a blame to take, but they also push back the blame that they're not poorly, I mean, they're not adequately funded. And that really militated many of us not to function. So the reality is, if you look at our budget, Nigeria's budget, I don't see us funding education in the near future. If you look at our budget in healthcare, I don't see us funding healthcare in the near future. If you look at job creation, unemployment rate, I think when I checked yesterday night, the unemployment rate from Bureau of Statistics website is about 26%, so which is extremely high. And if you look at our budget in healthcare, I think as of last year, the federal government put about 380 billion naira on healthcare. So I mean, if you do a simple analytics, common man analytics, 318 to over 200 million is practically about 1,600 or 1,500 naira per me and you as a Nigerian citizens for healthcare. And that I don't think can even fund the cost of chloroquine injection. So there is no money to fund education in Nigeria. There is no money to fund healthcare. There is no money to fund security. And I was going through some document from NUC, and I discovered that the Nigerian government need to invest at least 1 trillion naira. Nigerian government need to invest at least 1 trillion naira to revamp our educational ecosystem. So I don't see us putting 1 trillion naira into education, and I don't see us putting 1 trillion naira into healthcare. And we have major problems now that are militating us. We didn't know kidnapping before. Is now in every state. We don't know farmer herdsmen clash in almost every part of it, but now it's a common scenario. We don't know pandemic. Now we have pandemic that closed down almost everything. So there is a lot of things I think we can derive from this. We really need to think about doing things differently. And it's not just about the technology. It's about radical changing of how we do things by improving in our processes. You know, we have to change the way we do process. We have to do it for efficiency, for time saving. We are all, majority of us are from the IT ecosystem, but sometimes I don't like automation. Because the way we automate things in Nigeria, things go normal using pen and paper. But if you put automation, it will become a problem. It takes years and days to get a. So there is a lot of us. There is a lot of things that I believe we really need to do, and this prof have really given us a food for thought. I think we need to leverage on this. So I'll just go straight to Nigeria visibility in the global ranking. So over 200 million, 31st GDP in the world, and very important data. NCC said we have 198 million active telephone lines. Active lines that are active as at February last year when I checked their website, and about 286 million connected lines. So this means some of our cows and our dogs and fridges, they have SIM card line. Or maybe some of us have 5 to 10 SIM card lines. I don't know. And teledensity in Nigeria is over 100%. So impressive data, impressive opportunity. I think Nura that is in the UK can share with us with his experience with the UK. I do travel a lot in the UK by road, and in many parts of the UK there is no GSM line because they have already invested heavily in legacy infrastructure, fiber optics. And this is what is really giving the Asian or the Asian tigers capability to really function better in the digital economy. The India, the China, Singapore, Malaysia, because earlier they are just like us. They haven't really invested much on. They have already invested. They haven't really invested much on legacy infrastructure. So everything afresh, and that's one of the reasons that make them to really thrive better. But in the UK and the EU, they are struggling. They still say they're not innovative because it will cost them money to push away legacy infrastructure and put a new system. And I was privileged to talk to the mayor of Valencia in one of the conferences I attended. He said the Spanish are not innovative because he can't take budget to the parliament to approve buying computers and putting fiber optic cable. His government will not accept that. It's a public sector responsibility. It's a private sector responsibility. But here, almost every government is putting money on digitalization, digital, and so on. So there is a lot of things that I think we can derive from this. We are highly connected. And also, I shared this story a few days ago. Digital farming, we're in the era of digital farming now. The European countries and American are not really doing too well in digital farming because they have already invested a huge amount of money in mechanized farming. What I don't think we do this in Nigeria. And that is why countries with low rainfall amount per annum, desert, they are thriving very well in digital farming because they leverage on the modern and emerging technologies to improve value and to reduce waste. So we have the number here, which I believe we can get an inspiration from. And internet users, about 184 internet users. When I checked last year, it's about 179. So it's a big number here. But in Human Development Index, we are ranked 161 out of 189. Not too good. And in Human Capital Index, we are ranked 153 out of 157 countries. So practically, we are just above how many countries? Above 5. Last year, we were 152. As of 2018. So it's a good thing that we really need to look at. And also in the World Intellectual Index, we are ranked 114 out of 129. And if you look at the patent index in the world, we just had 21 patents in Nigeria. just 21 patents, while South Africa had about, I think, 3,000 to 4,000 patents, if I can remember. So there is a lot of gap here for us to see. And also, in the e-government index, doing government job online, we are around 143 out of 193. And also in e-participation index, we are around 117 out of 190. It's a good number, but we can do better. If you look at our youth and all the generations that are active in the social media, and we are also ranked 114 out of 134 countries in the Global Network Readiness Index. This is the most interesting thing in these statistics. It's very, very interesting thing that can give us a lot of thought and a lot of hope. So I grabbed this image from the World Intellectual Index. So globally, if you look at the technicians and associated professionals, we are ranked number 4 in the world. So good capability for us. In the medium and high-tech industry, we are number 43 in the world. Business use of digital tools in Nigeria, in the world, we are number 50. So this clearly shows majority of our businesses have done too well in digitalizing their ecosystem, cybersecurity, publication and use of open data. So a lot of good things for us to see. E-commerce legislation, we are doing well. Online access to financial accounts, we are also doing not too bad compared to the other years. But if you look at the application of this competency into improving our well-being, we talked about SDG earlier. In gender equality, we are 120 out of 134. And if you look at SDG 3, good health and well-being, we are 122. Internet access. So a lot of issues that we can derive from this: Wikipedia edits, availability of local content online. And this is an area where I know my colleague, Dr. Najib, will expand more on this. So there is a lot of opportunity we could drive from this competency. And I believe me, will make a lot of difference. So if you look at the social media users globally, we spend around 3.36 minutes, 3 hours, 36 minutes on average using social media in Nigeria. I got this from Statista. Also, I found this image in World Economic Forum. So this is clearly a good source of data. So, but if you look at distribution, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and so on and so on. So I believe if Malam Najib and Nura put up this program on a Facebook Live, we'll have more audience than putting it in Google Drive. So because we have good numbers here and we are connected, how do we begin to exploit this? I've seen a colleague of mine from University of Abuja. His university have no Google Classroom, have no other means of communication, but he put his teaching into Facebook, and he said he had about 1,000+ students. And on average, he used to have about 200, maybe 250 that have engaged with him by this week. So there is a lot of opportunity here. How do we begin to learn using Facebook? How do we begin to learn using YouTube? How do we begin to get quality healthcare counseling by Facebook? So I also got this data just this morning from one of my senior colleagues' presentation that has to do with Simedan. So if you look at micro enterprises that employ between 1 to 9 employees, we've got about 36 million in Nigeria. So almost 99% of all our companies employ less than 1 to 10. From 1 to 9 or less than 10. So it's something that I think we need to look at and see why we don't have much numbers here. I try to compare this with other countries' data, but we don't have time to dive into this. I would have shared it with us. Then if you look at the small enterprises, just about 68,000, just about 0.1%. Not really too good. If you look at the bigger enterprises, just about 4,000. So we can do better. How do we begin to use ICT to scale up these micro enterprises to start giving 2 more jobs? I had a discussion recently with somebody from my state, Jigawa, And I asked him, it would be nice to know how many companies in Jigawa are employing more than 50 staff beyond government. And he said, this is something that he thinks he can fund to know that. And it's something that we can begin to know. And for this, our society, how do we think we can support somebody who is baking bread or somebody who is doing small farming to begin to improve his farm and employ more people? How do we begin to improve our output per hectare? A colleague of mine doing things on agriculture, he said the average ton from a farm in Nigeria is about 1 metric ton, while a farmer in Thailand or India can get up to 3 metric ton or over. So, and that's why it's always cheaper to import maize and rice from other countries than to buy from our own economy. But it had implication with our forex window. So a lot of things for us to learn from this. If you look at the revenue or turnover of these SMEs or micro enterprises, majority of them earn below 50K per month. So if a business that had up to 1 to 9 employees can only just get 50,000 naira per month, it's really not too good. And that's why if you look at the previous data I shared, we're not really doing too well in that. So we really need to begin to improve our workflow. And I got this data from CIMEDA. And this is almost 5 years, 4 years old, and not too much has been done to see if there is any changes in that regards. So if you go further, if you look at the sector where these companies or startups are operating majority from agriculture, followed by retailing. I mean, majority from wholesale and retailing. So basically, we're just buying and selling. We're not adding much value. That's why when you go to the East, they have traders. They don't call themselves as businessmen. They say, I am a trader. I've done some work in the East, and we collected data, and you ask somebody, what is your occupation? You say, I'm a trader. So we have more traders than farmers in Nigeria. In the manufacturing, just about similar thing with agriculture, not too much gap. And if you look at the other side of the data, male, and if you total them, you could see a lot of what? A lot of gap. So there is a lot of work for us to do, but the most interesting thing is in the wholesaling, the male and the female are competing. But if you go to agriculture, they are not doing too well. I came across a video yesterday how farmers in Kenya are using sacks to plant potatoes. And that have really spiked a lot of interest globally. I think BBC shared this story. So, but if you look at the human and social work, there is no data. And I think this is an area where most of us can begin to exploit. Counseling, I will explain more on that. Real estate, no data. So there is a lot of work for us to see, and there is a lot of food for thought that we could derive from this. And also, the market operations. Majority operate within their local channel, local locality. Within Nigeria, also very few, but within Africa, and within ECOWAS and worldwide. So this tells a lot of story about Nigeria, and it shows a lot of opportunity that we could begin to make a lot of impact from this type of data. So then let's go to job nowhere. Yes, there is no job, but there is job. Let's do a simple check. Maybe I will stop here. I will ask Dr. Najib to go through this section. Then I can take off from the next section. Let me take a brief. Dr. Najib, are you on standby?
Yeah, sure.
Please go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Islam. So we are able to learn a lot of things from the presentation made by Dr. Islam. So remember our today's, you can leave the slides. Or you want me just to?
No, I can do it for you. I can do it for
Okay,
you.
I'll leave the slide. So the main objective of the lecture is at OpenSchool Nigeria, we are deeply concerned with regard to this lack of employment in Nigeria. So as part of our contribution is to see how we could be of help. So now we are talking about job nowhere but everywhere. So the reason why we said there is really lack of job is look at the data from 2012, in which Vanguard reported that when Dangote advertised for his driver in those days, that was in November 2012, among those who applied for the job were 6 PhD holders, 704 master degree holders, and other kind of cadres. So this is just one thing that will start making us to think, like if people with master's degree and PhD could be looking for employment as far back as 2012 as truck drivers, then we will really need to say something is really bad, or something is really need to be discussed somewhere, somehow in this country. Next slide. Not only that, you see Dr. Umar Radha said only 1 out of every 100 of Nigerian graduates secures job. This was recently stated, that was in 2017. Only 1 out of every 100 of Nigerian graduates secures a job. Next. On top of that, I think Information Nigeria, that was around May 22, 2019, came up with this story that man burns both his BSc and NYC certificate after 5 years of job hunting. When I presented this same type of information in one of the places I made presentation, someone said this guy was even lucky to get the job after 5 years. He said he attended. The other guy was telling me that he knew somebody who got his job, in which his church celebrated his job because he got the job 27 years after he graduated from the university. So this one is just like a child play, that this guy was lucky to have his job 5 years after job hunting. So this one was really frustrated. That is why he banned both his BSc and NYC certificate, because he couldn't even get the job. Next. On top of that, recently, Punch newspaper also reported that like 4.48 million persons applied for Empower job within 16 days. When the portal was up and running, like 4.48 million persons applied for Empower job within 16 days. So this really is so scary to tell us that there is really problem with when it comes to job in Nigeria. Next. And you see, when the Minister of State Labor, Festus Keyamo, came up with this idea that every local government, they want to employ 1,000 people from every local government for an unskilled job. Then the Kabul newspaper also came with this statistic that about 4 PhD holders, 200 master's degree holders apply for federal government 774,000 unskilled job, which the pay is really like 20,000 per month job. And this job is just not for graduate or any other people. It is meant for people that are unskilled. But still, like master degree holders, PhD people were applying for all this job. So this is to show that there is really a crisis when it comes to employment in this country. Next. So now I will hand over to Ruslan to tell us the strategic piece. Now we said there is no job, but we believe there are jobs. So before we delve into that, Dr. Ruslan will take us into another aspect so that we can understand the context at which we are making this presentation. Thank you, Dr. Ruslan.
Yeah, I have to turn on my audio. So thank you, Doctor, for this intervention. So, but I mean, one of my mentor and my boss, Najib knows him, Professor Katempi, keep talking about Rislan. We keep talking about we have potential, we have capability, we have this and that. He said for over 40 years he has been getting these words ring into his head. But sadly, nothing changed. And with the current pandemic, and with what we have just shared now, and the most striking things is what Dr. Najib just said now from two ministers. Minister of Labor, Minister of, humanitarian, and also from Dr. Dukorada, is somebody I know very well, and I know what he's doing there. We have invited him a couple of times to talk to us. So there is a gap, there is opportunity, and we know we have a gap. No worry about that. So how do we change that gap? How do we begin to do things at our own micro level? And I like the way his organization structured or classified industries, micro, small, medium, and so on and so on. So today I'm not going to talk about SME or whatever. I will be centering our discussion into the micro. What can we do at individual level? What can we do at our own personal level, at our own office? I appreciate what the Open School is doing. When this pandemic came up, the Open School see opportunity to improve, and a lot had happened. And this our gathering is part of the effort made by Dr. Nura and Dr. Najib. And I know a couple of colleagues and friends have put a lot of palliatives beyond what the government is giving. A lot of palliative is put in there, and a lot had happened. But I'm not happy to say that what has happened is okay or is good enough. We have to do more. And I'll be talking about what we need to do at the basic level, that we don't even need to invest any, they don't need to invest any money in infrastructure or to invest money in a training, because there is a lot of free goodies for good. Just yesterday, Najib shared something on his Facebook page. I was so busy, I wanted to comment, but I couldn't do that. Google opened up a portal where we could register an industry qualification that can qualify us to get a job. And Google, Facebook, YouTube, Tesco, and all these big guys, they're talking about we don't need to go to university anymore. The university education is not fit for purpose. It's not fit for purpose. And I'm sure Nura can share this with us, maybe during the closing, that in the UK area, the university are getting too much money, but they focus their attention into research. And that's why we have the research excellence framework. But along the way, the students have to fight back. They say, colleagues or my lecturers from the university are busy doing research. They don't care about me. I'm finishing university, I'm not getting job. And job nowhere is not only in Nigeria. Even the global leaders are yearning to have more jobs to do. And coupled with this pandemic, something that I think we need to. So my intervention here is to go into digital. And I will begin by talking about digital literacy and digital competency. So digital literacy, as I've said earlier, is not computer literacy only. It's computer literacy plus information literacy. Majority of us can use computer. I can share with you, yesterday I met a guy that I've been meeting, along my way from office or from work. He's a Fulani guy. He didn't go to school, but he had a mobile phone. He had a Facebook. He had a YouTube. He had complete Quran recitation, a lot of preaching in his phone. And I asked myself, how does he know how to operate these devices? Because the innovation of these devices made them to be so simple to use. There is a lady supporting us in the house that lives within our neighborhood. She's not educated, but she had a smartphone. I used to listen to her playing music, Quran, and some other preachers. And I think she had a WhatsApp, and I haven't really involved myself into her privacy. So, majority of our mothers and brothers from the village are more informed than us that are living in the cities. Because in the morning, I know whenever I go to my village, the first thing I hear from my village or from my room, if I happen to sleep in my mother's house, is she will listen to BBC, she will listen to VOA, and so on and so on. So she has more clear, more direct information than us in the village. So we really need to bridge this gap. We need to get good information to take good decisions, and we also need to be more advanced in terms of computer usage. So if you go to context, UNESCO defined digital literacy as a what? As a basic skills required for working with the digital media, information processing, and retrieval. So digital media entails a lot, information processing entails a lot, and retrieval. So I think we are more into consuming than generating more information, looking at the data we have just shared. And these digital literacy skills, they are gateway to employment. We need to have this. And if we look further, where one of my mentors too, Professor James, and together with Chetty, they put this content as a what? As a skill that enables one participation in a social network for the creation and sharing of knowledge, and the ability to support a wide range of what? Professional computing skills. How many of us can create a meeting using Google Meet? How many of us can create and share a file using Google Files? These productivity tools, how many of us can use them? I think there is a lot for us to do here with digital literacy. It's important we start thinking towards that direction. But I have said earlier, this is not enough. So I know the Federal Ministry of Communication and NIDA are working so hard to see how they can turn around our youth population and also people that have achieved some certain age to see how they can get a quality digital literacy training. Just of recent, I got this today from Facebook. These guys are trying to do something around free digital literacy training. And what really makes me to copy this is what? Their team for the conference. Build your digital capacity with productivity, digital marketing, and entrepreneurship tools. So these productivity tools, I don't know if we have time, would have involved more into them. And how many of us can type, can do PowerPoint from our mobile phone? How many of us are using calendar? How many of us are using task or keep? How many of us are using Google Lens to organize yourself into a more structured individual? And these tools, beyond just using them for personal benefits, you could also extend them to your workplace. How do you enable your boss to begin to use Google Meet? How do you enable your business to begin to use Excel? You know, I was talking to my brother, he's a farmer, and he always say he's not making money from his farm. I said, because you're not doing 2 column cash book. If I were you, every day I do irrigation in my farm, I will put the money. Every day I hire a laborer, I will put the money in the left-hand side. And whenever I do a sale, then I can put in the right-hand side. And when he began to do this, a lot had happened for him. Because he started to see the benefit of putting a simple data to give him some insight. And this marketing, how do we market our tools? I've seen a couple of friends and sisters trying to use their WhatsApp platform to make a sales. But sometimes you just see a picture. The price is not there. How do we use WhatsApp status to begin to sell things? Beyond adding the picture, how do you begin to add a follow-up image, a follow-up text that somebody can click without having to call you to see your detailed catalog. So there is a lot for us to learn from this, which I believe this is what NIDA is thinking to do, to begin to create e-marketplace where buyers and sellers can meet up and they can exchange goods seamlessly. And I got this from Adobe website. They structure they structure digital literacy into 3 different themes: universal literacy, creative literacy, and literacy across discipline. So this universal literacy is something that we have just said. How do we start to use Microsoft Word? How do we begin to do PowerPoint? How do we begin to do podcast? How do we begin to do a poster that can tell a lot of story, that can begin to derive revenue for us? How do we begin to digitize history? My village have no history. How do we begin to write a book and make it open in a Facebook page that people can begin to know about my village? How do I geolocate or tag my village using Google Map? How do I begin to add all the Akara sellers, the suya sellers in Google Map? And that can create a lot of attention and interest. And if you go beyond the universal literacy training, universal literacy skills, you need to have the creative literacy skills. This entails what Dr. Najib have just said, and he will say more on this: video production. How do I begin to create a 1-minute video? I'm sure Namal Najib will share about NAS Daily. Madagwal, a lot of artists from Nigeria are also driving value from that. And how do I begin to write a simple programming? How do I begin to code? How do I begin to write a user manual? How do I begin to write a manual about how to use Google Classroom in the local dialect? How do I begin to guide my village community on how to be a good digital citizen? We had issue about cybercrime and so on and so on. How do I begin to commercialize what I have known? And there is a lot of opportunity for us to explore. And also beyond this, how do I begin to do the structural application of ICT? If there is a school in my village, how do I begin to digitize their resource system? How do I begin to digitize the court system? And I tell you this story, almost every day people do call me, Rislan, we need help. How do we get this thing done? We need to digitize, we need to digitalize. But along the way, we don't get it done, because we end up giving them things that they cannot afford to pay. So there is a lot of things I think we can derive from this type of literacy. Universal literacy is something that we need to have. Beyond having that, we need to move on to start getting the creativity. And that's where the money part of the venture is, and also where we can exploit beyond money. Then, why digital literacy is important for us: we should be able to optimally search things in the internet, and we should be able to authenticate what we see. I tell you a story. I'm working with about 5 different guys trying to do postgraduate level equivalent project, and the average age is around 5. Average employment year is about 5 years. And they all go to the internet and copy and paste and present it to me as their work. So when I put it into plagiarism detection software, I didn't even waste my time to go through their job. The first thing I did is just to do a plagiarism check. And it turns out to be very brutal. So I just tell them, guys, this is what I see. You need to improve on this. They say, oh, I say, yes, you go to the internet, but you need to localize what you have. And also, how do you begin to turn this massive information that you have authenticated from the global scale into a more beneficial content? How do you turn this information into a knowledge where you could begin to be a game changer in your community? And this digital literacy can also help us to improve our personal and professional development. And this digital literacy, as we said earlier, it enables us to have the soft skills that are necessary for job. Collaboration, how many of us can collaborate? If you look at what is happening now, it's about 5 of us working together. Najib initiated this idea, Nura and other guys are also given the support. So it's not just a one-man business. How do we begin to do this in almost everything we do. And these tools, and knowing how to use these tools, can enable us to collaborate. Similarly, Nura is in the UK. Myself and Najib are all in Nigeria, but in the different locations. But we're running a project. How do we begin to do this type of things in this way? How do I begin to hire a skill that my company is lacking? How do I begin to get a skill or a job done in Lagos while I'm in Jigawa? How do I begin to get things done without having to travel? If I run a small business in Gumel, do I need to go to Kano every day to source for raw material? Do I need to go to Hadeja every day to source for raw material? How can I leverage on National Union of Road Transport Workers to get things done within my domain? And this critical thinking skill is important. We begin to have it. You know, how do I see things beyond what I see in the physical context? And also, how do I begin to have computational thinking and computational skills? Is necessary as an individual to have a basic literacy of how to use data, how do you leverage on the available data, turn around things within your value system. How do I network? Few days ago, Dr. Najib made a presentation about literature review to Iranian students. I've seen the video. I was amazed to see what happened there. Almost 50 plus participants, and all of them are muted, and they didn't share their video. And it's fantastic thing. How do we begin to have this? And how many students Iranian had? And how many students Nigeria had? So there is a lot of things we could begin to leverage on. And how do we begin to have a persuasive communication skills? How do I persuade my neighbor to begin to buy my product? How do I persuade my boss to begin to trust what I'm saying? How do I begin to persuade my imam in the mosque I pray or in the church I go to begin to adopt my idea? Maybe in a normal Friday prayer, how can I be given 5 minutes just before imam arrive to talk about digital literacy? Similar in the church. How do I begin to go to my village head office to talk about digital literacy? So there is a lot of things, and majority of us, we don't begin to persuade. We don't have these persuasion skills. How do I begin to invite the Minister of Communication to come to my village to give a talk about digital literacy? How do I begin to, so there is a lot of things. How do I talk to my House of Representative member or the senator to come and give me a chance to put him through what digital literacy is all about? So there is a lot of things that we need to do. And I tell you something, majority of us that have things to offer, we don't have these persuasive skills. We end up just to say, I'm not a politician, I can do this. So there is a lot of things we do. And how do we use the network of social media influencers within my neighborhood to turn around things? And I got something very hilarious a few days ago. A councillor in Kano appointed, I think, over 10 heads. And people are shouting about him. And I talked to the guys. I said, see, you don't need to worry about what he's doing. He's trying to bring people. He's trying to break even the way we do things by bringing some innovation, where a lot of support can be generated for him and to make decisions based on data. So we need to begin to do things toward this direction. And how do we use these tools? How do I use WhatsApp to begin to solve problems? How do I use WhatsApp to research for literature and also get things done or to get clarification? Not just to begin to do things based on emotion and evidence. So there is a lot of things that we can begin to drive from this type of platform that we already had. WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. How do we use this for good? And how do we extend this network to my wife, to my sisters, to my mosques? It's very important we begin to do this. It's not just about creating a WhatsApp group for my village community just to share a joke, just to share someone stealing, or just to share some of the community I kidnapped. We need to be very positive about how we do things within this digital literacy platform. And we also need to be very, very cyber careful. So if you look at digital literacy domains or dimensions, there is about 4 things we need to consider. The information, we need to synthesize the information we have generated. And we also need to be sure about the ethical implication of whatever we access. If you look at the computer and its associated technology, we need to evaluate what we have. Do I need to be on WhatsApp? Do I need to be on Signal? Do I need to be on Instagram? How many minutes do I spend working with these tools? In the long run, what is the implication of this tool to my lifestyle? And if you look at the media, the content we generated from the internet or that come across our way, we need to critique the content. We need to also ascertain how truthful is this content. If I share this to the WhatsApp group I belong to, is it going to harm anybody? And so on and so on. How do I begin to generate content that can change the way we do? I said, let's forget about money. How do I begin to sensitize it from my neighborhood? And so that this is something that I think we can all go and see beyond what we are doing here. Then the dimension of digital competency is also something that I think we have to go beyond. I've talked a lot about this. The digital competency is just beyond knowing or using this technology, is on how to amplify our value system. And we are in a future fully dominated by AI, cognitive computing, big data, and so on and so on. So there is a lot of things that I think we need to really begin to do. We need to start to influence how things can be done in a better way using evidence and data. So I got this from, I'll just pause here, maybe to give a room for interaction. I got this from Google Trends. How many of us are familiar with Google Trends? I know there is a clue here, you know, which of the Google Trends questions come from Nigeria by looking at some of the names. But this tells a lot of us about Nigeria. So if I can guess, these 3 other ones are from which country? Maybe if I can guess, these 3 other ones are from which country? Maybe somebody can help me out. These 3 other ones are from what? I will unmute myself. I will unmute myself. Maybe we can interact. So if you look at the question we usually ask in Nigeria, they're a bit funny. When is school resuming? How to make hand sanitizer is a good question. It's a good question. Yeah. How is George? How to make face mask? I think we have a.
Hello?
And how to make a cake. So there is a lot of things that I think, Najib, you have to mute the other. Mute. Yeah. That is a crosstalk. Okay, it's over. So if you look at this, it tells a lot of story about Nigeria. In fact, things a lot had improved recently, because when I checked this last year, the major question is how to tie gele, how to do shaku shaku dance. And this really tells that we are not really doing a good thing with these technologies. So if I go further to job everywhere but nowhere, and as I've said earlier, I like this diagram. In almost every presentation I do, I used to put this diagram. Where you see blue is where the impact of ICT is greater. And where you see black is where the impact of ICT is not really great. And this tells a lot of story that even though the ICT is everywhere in this part of the world, but the impact is not there because there is no basic infrastructure to turn around our value system. So probably we may have to disrupt and go to the next level. And this next level entails a lot of changing the way we do things. So, and also if you look at this diagram, this table, I got this from Bloomberg Billionaires Index in 2019 and just yesterday. If you look at the index, a lot had changed. And if you look at the industry, what really tried me here is what is the industry, technology and consumer and technology. So how do we begin to see things beyond what we see here? How do we begin to do new things from this type of data? And if you look at how the billionaires network change, it tells a lot of story. But the key message of bringing here this thing is what? Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Bill Gates are people that have started not really too long ago. And particularly, if you look at Jeff Bezos, what is he selling? How did he start it? With how much profit did he start it? You look at Larry Page and Saji and so on and so on. What are they doing that they are making this type of money? And majority of this money is coming from this part of our world. If you look at Warren, Warren has been very, very consistent within this network. You look at Mark Zuckerberg, what is he doing? How does he start it? If you look at Elon Musk, he is not in this league in 2019. If you look at this guy too, he's not in this list. This guy, Zongshan, I follow up with his story. He's not in the list as of 2019. So what is he doing? What is he doing? So I think it's something that beyond this conference, I mean, this webinar, we can go back and look at what are they doing? How do they get to where they are? And the key message here is majority of us talk about, I can't start a business because I don't have capital, because I don't have an office, because I don't have people to employ. You don't need that to start a business because we are in the era of what? Of kite. So it previously, for you to start a business, you need to leverage on kite. But with our current reality, you don't need kite. You don't need to start from, I mean, you don't need cell. You just need to go to kite. And what does cell stand for? Capital, entrepreneurship, land, and labor. Why Dangote is the richest guy in Africa is because he had capital. He was given capital to start. But beyond capital, he had land and he had labor. He employed hundreds of laborers and hundreds of well-skilled staff. But beyond all this, he had entrepreneurship mindset. I'll talk more about entrepreneurship in the next slide. So you don't need this to start doing things great. You don't need this to change how things have been done in this part of the world. So now we're in the era of kite. For you to be great, you just need to have knowledge of your environment. We have talked about so many gaps, so many challenges, so many opportunities. Now we have good knowledge of what we know what to do. So we just need to have the innovation mindset. I also talk about innovation, and we also need to leverage on the available technologies we have. Is it mobile phone? Is it WhatsApp? And so, and beyond this, you also need to have entrepreneurship mindset. So if you look at these two concepts, the major bridge between them is the entrepreneurship. No matter how much capital you have, I've seen many interventions going around in Nigeria, giving people money, palliatives around agriculture, around digital job, but not much has been done. I was involved in one of the e-agric intervention by one of the UN system, and after about 3 years, when we went back, there is nothing there to see. Nothing happened. So I don't think we need to start to do this thing again. We could move beyond just putting the physical component into a more digital component. And one of my senior colleagues, Professor James, said he read from Financial Times. It's a well-respected newspaper in the US. They said big data market in Nigeria is put to around $100 billion value. And 100 billion is like 3 times bigger than our foreign reserve. And from what he said to me is, we can begin to make this money not because we have to go to farm. We don't even need to start exploring oil because oil have not done really something good for us. This is money that we could drive from within our bedrooms, within our backyards, and within our locality. And we have massive data that we could begin to drive, to use and harness and make value. I just shared a story earlier. The profit MTN made is bigger than what all the banks had. So it's something that I think we can begin to learn. So if you look at entrepreneurship I've said this earlier. Entrepreneurship is not about just starting or being your own boss. Entrepreneurship is beyond being your own boss. I shared this story earlier. One of my colleagues said he's tired of coming to work Monday to Friday. He resigned and he set up his own business. He's calling himself an entrepreneur. And within a year, everything collapsed. So it doesn't have the entrepreneurship mindset. So entrepreneurship is just about creating value for business and communities. And this value can happen by bringing unique combination of what? Public and private resources to exploit what I have said earlier, economic, social, and cultural opportunities. Dr. Najib, Nura, and the rest are running OpenSchool, not because they want to make money. I've never seen application form open that participants need to pay to register before they can join any of their training. Their key message is what? To exploit social capabilities, to see how things can be done differently. Maybe this so-called youth that wanted to be a kidnapper or wanted to start drug abuse because he have no job, by coming across OpenSchool and trying to learn how to use digital literacy, can't stop him from going there. A lot had happened. Because he could be the one that could kidnap our future Nobel laureate. So all these are things that I think we need to begin to do. We can't say because I'm a lecturer, I'm a civil servant, I cannot be an entrepreneur. You could begin to exploit this combination of public and private resources to improve value. We all have jobs that we are doing and we are bound by contract of our jobs. But at a free time, we do talk to our bosses that I need to go somewhere just to support how things has been done. Najib last week made a presentation to the Iranian student. Last week, I fly to Sokoto based on the kind invitation of the VC to talk to the university community. And believe me or not, the money I was given is not up to what I have spent in Sokoto. But we do it because we think we can change the way things has been done, or we have things that colleagues can learn from us. So there is a lot of things, as I've said earlier, how do I begin to start working with the mosque, my mosque community or my neighborhood community to see how they can begin to use calendar, how they can begin to use Google Meet to connect and share, to see how they can begin to use YouTube to learn better skills. And beyond just this entrepreneurship, using the normal thing we know, when you say you're an entrepreneur, you need to have capital, you need to have resources. But can we jump into entrepreneurship? A colleague of mine, Dr. Bayo, just got his PhD, and part of the key thing he does is on what? Entrepreneurship. And I got this from Coleman book, and he defined entrepreneurship as what? As a new way where innovative business idea can emerge within network economy by leveraging on electronic platform or digital platform to offer products and services purely online, using a new business model, using a new revenue model, maybe pay per click, maybe pay per download, and so on and so on. So there is a lot of things we could begin to drive from this entrepreneurship. I think something that we need to, part of what this e-school need to do is to encourage this entrepreneurship. How do we identify champions? How do we put them into a digital platform? How do we encourage businesses to begin to use Google Form to collect data about their customers? To also use Excel to begin to analyze data about what they need to do. And also, I try to put this into a concept of who is an innovator? Who is an innovator? Majority of us say we innovate, but we're not innovating. We're invention. I met one of my good friends last week in Sokoto. He has been telling me he invented so many things. And when he hosted me for a dinner and he shared story with me and I see what he has done, I say, my friend, you're not innovating. This cannot stand the time. Nobody can buy this because there is a lot of gap I have seen. So innovation is not just about invention, it's about putting what we have embedded into market. I give you example, Indomie. Almost every house now cook Indomie. Why Indomie? Because it's cheap, easy to cook, and it has some ambience that majority of us perceive. It can give us good nutrition. So if I ask a simple question, do you think we can generate revenue from invention? I think yes, but not sustainable. And we will not really need to innovate alone. We have to work with other partners to innovate. And in most of the cases, we like to own everything. We like to own every value system within our market. We have to open up. We need to enable other people to come in and support us, to give us synergy. And if you can do this, we can begin to have something in the right direction. There is no much time. We could have shared a lot of story. But if you move on, I got this from the Innovators DNA. It's a very amazing book that I would recommend all of us to please go and read. For us to begin to function in the digital economy, we need to have these 5 key skills. Questioning skill. We need to start to question the status quo. Why this thing has been done? Why not done this way? If we do it this way, what will happen? How do we cook? How do we go to school? How do we do examination? If we change that we do examination in a school, can this improve the learning outcome? I have to share this story in my university where I've been learning online for 3 semesters. We just resumed recently to campus. Even though we are back to campus, but we are running a hybrid mode of learning. And majority of the teachers and colleagues say students are passing too much because they are learning from home. I refuse to talk to them, but after looking at the data and coming up with analytics and dashboard and stories, and I made a presentation to the Senate. And one of the things we observed, the pass rate using online learning is not as good as what we have using the brick and mortar. The pass rate is lower than students doing the exams in the controlled environment. But the failure rate have significantly reduced because in digital economy or digital learning, students have ownership of their learning. And there is no much empathetic way of doing things. And a lot of tools are put in there to support the student to be able to be a better learner. And when I look at the success rate in my university, had significantly improved because students and the lecturers are exposed to the digital tools. And this is a key thing I think we need to begin to ask ourselves, how do we change the way things have been done? And observation, we also need to begin to observe. If we observe how we do our value system, we can begin to see gap. We can begin to see opportunity to improve. And as I've said earlier, innovators are people that exploit value system. As far as we can provide a solution, people will buy. Why do we all have Facebook account? Why do we have Twitter account? Why do we have WhatsApp? Because there is value in them. And most of tough guys, they begin to get their inspiration from observation and also association. If you really want to be a good guy for the future, a good candidate, you need to associate. I'm sure Malan Najib will share a lot of his success story. He's on LinkedIn. Malan Najib is one of the highly respected guys or friends I have in the digital economy, digital platform. I learned a lot from what he's doing, and I got a lot of inspiration from his post, from his engagement. He can share with us how he was able to get a lot of job opportunity, a lot of mentorship opportunity, and also networking. You see, networking and association is 2 different things. You can network with a large group, but you may not associate. So I see networking as a lower part of the association ecosystem. Beyond just networking, you also need to associate. You need to belong to group. You need to belong to a society. You need to belong to a family. And that can give you an opportunity to learn from what other people are doing and also to get mentorship and experimenting. Majority of us keep our ideas into our head without having to take it up. And I love to share this story. That was a product I invented, and along the way, it's been with me for over 5 years. And when I met somebody, he said, "Islam, this is very novel solution. It had a potential to go beyond what you think about it. I can help you to market, and that I can help you to market, turn around a lot of things." And I say, "How?" He said, "Give me this idea. I'll put it into my environment, and I'm not going to pay you. And we sign a deal until the end of this product. I'm not going to pay. That's one of the key things I'm taking from you. But then I will help you to push up this within my network." So we really need to see how we can downstream this attribute of innovators into our own system. I will also advise, if you have internet, you can search the innovators DNA. They have a software that you could pay, I think, about $100 to test your level of innovation. They will ask about, I think, 100 questions, and if you tell them that, they can give you some insight about yourself and ways they think you can improve yourself to be a better citizen or to be a better husband. So if you look at digitalization, we talk about digitization. And I shared this story last week when I was in Sokoto. Majority of us from the university, we have a profile. We put our research and everything. But are they active? Are they live? How do I know I've gotten impact? How do I know I've gotten download? How do I know I've gotten views? So we need to begin to digitalize things. So digitalization is beyond digitization. Digitalization is just to put things in a digital format. But how do we digitalize? How do we make it live? And I see this digitalization as a product of what? Digital competency. And digital competency is about what? Creating, synthesizing, analyzing, critiquing, and also sharing what we have seen. So if you look at this ecosystem, is what is powering our current innovation. And I got this from OECD website. Internet of Things is what is powering digital farming. One of my colleagues, Ms. Tura, she just got her master's from African University of Science and Technology. The key job she's doing is about what? Innovation around agriculture. And she's leveraging on Internet of Things, trying to see how she can collect a lot of data from farm. She's working with a rural farmer in Ibadan. And 5G networks. We don't have 5G, but we have 4G. My colleague Malan Najib, I have to tease him. He had a good friend from Galaxy, which I believe is Time Abdul Qadir graduating from Galaxy. So he's leveraging on high-speed network to get things done. And I think it's something that as our head moves on, need to begin how to support our people in the rural village to begin to use quality internet for good. And cloud computing, people have this phobia of cloud. There is nothing much to worry about cloud. As far as you have email, you have Facebook, you use internet banking, you buy the charger, you're already in the cloud computing. So how do you begin to use cloud for good? Beyond just downloading movie, beyond just downloading iGodai movie or iGodai jog. How do we begin to do this? And this big data thing, people worry about big data, that we are not ready for big data. We need to invest this. There is nothing to worry about big data. Already there is a big data that you could leverage to make a lot of difference. I did a workshop about 2 weeks ago about how do we harness big data for national development. And part of what I do is I try to show colleagues how they can access open data to make a lot of difference. I met a lady 2 days ago through a friend, and she said she's a social media influencer. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, she said she has been helping politicians. She has been doing this and that. I said, "Did they win the election?" And he said, I said, "Yes." So, but you need to change. You need to use your social media influence to make them win the election, or to tell them not to even contest, so that you don't lose the money they need to have to eat. So artificial intelligence is also been democratized now, and it's also been revolutionized. You don't need to have the high performance computing in your cluster. There is AI as a service. You could leverage on that. And also blockchain. Although we have some issues, a lot of misconception around blockchain, but I think it's something that we could begin to learn. And I'm going to show more on this. So let's look at the low-hanging fruit. I will be running off in the next 10 minutes.
I know we have to finish by 12, and I know Dr. Najib have a lot to say. So these are low-hanging fruits that I think we need to begin to exploit. Looking at what we have said earlier, we have seen the gap. We have shown you how you could begin to do things differently. So how do we begin to use digital tools in food and nutrition ecosystem? How do we improve our transportation, logistics, and supply chain? And how do we begin to change things in education, literacy, and information using modern technologies? And how do we begin to exploit value just by doing business process automation or business process engineering? And this data economy, how do I begin to provide data as a service? We're in a data economy. As I've said earlier, Nigeria had a potential to generate 10 billion US dollar from big data market. No need to exploit oil, no need to do agriculture, just by looking at the data. And how do we begin to harness renewable energy? How do we advise people on how to have a better power economy? And majority of us are not happy because we have light, but you have to pay. My neighbor was telling me a few days ago that he spent almost 60,000 naira per month just to buy electricity credit. Even yesterday, I was at the mosque and few colleagues are lamenting. I say it's a choice that you all have to do for you to change the way you do things. And with the way price of crude oil is going up, it's something that I think we can explore a lot of value from this ecosystem. And entertainment. How do we begin to make money from entertainment just for making people to crack their ribs? And if I ask this question, how can we innovate with technologies to improve some of our key performance indicators? I shared this story yesterday with somebody from Jigawa. We happened to just meet yesterday through a friend. And I asked him that if you look at the JAM achievement, we're not doing too well from Jigawa. If you look at the NECO, in fact, this presentation, I wanted to tailor it into Jigawa, but when Dr. Najib shared the participant list with me, I said we don't need to make it local. So there is a lot of ways I think we can turn around our bad luck to good luck by just leveraging on digital platform. And maybe if I can ask, Madam Najib, it's important if we do workshop with this participant to show them how they can create a webinar, how they can downscale this type of workshop to their local community, and how can we use this type of ecosystem to improve our hospital operations, to also see how we can improve our teachers. I got a statistics from ESPN, some of you that are from Jigawa, and some few states, ESPN has an operations. And ESPN came to Jigawa about, I think, 15 or 10 years ago with intervention. And ESPN is a United Kingdom development aid program. When they came to Jigawa, they wanted to help with the primary and basic education. And they identified 5 domains where they think they can improve: teacher education, head teacher, quality management, and learners engagement, I think community, if I can remember. And when they identified the gap, they collected data. And that's how they found out the gap, and they give intervention. And after a few years, they went back to evaluate the impact of what they have done. And sadly, what they found is teachers that go through their interventions are not far better than teachers that didn't go through that intervention. So there is a lot of things I think we can begin to leverage on this. So if I move on, food and nutrition. How do we help our local farmers to sell market into the global or regional or national market? I shared this story. My brothers and rest of the families are farmers because they live in the village and they do watermelon. I'm going to share a picture with you. When I went there last year, I think during December, December. No, not December. I think it's around September or October. I found that they are selling the watermelon at farm about 250 naira. But in Abuja, it's got up to 1,000 to 1,200 naira. It's a big issue, big concern for me. These guys have been working with the watermelon for over 3 months or 2 months, and someone that just collect and deliver within 2-3 days will make the money. So it's a big issue. How do we begin to use ICT to improve our farmers to sell directly without having to go through the farm? I've seen a lot of case study happening there. There is a guy I know that I mentored. He's into fruits. He's based in Abuja. He does that a lot. He's collecting the watermelon from Sokoto and doing the distribution within Abuja. And it's a good story that maybe we can discuss in the further time. And value addition. How do we add value to this product, to this watermelon? How do we do watermelon juice? If I'm bringing watermelon juice to Abuja, maybe 1 liter of watermelon juice, I need to crush maybe 50 or 5 watermelon. How do we begin to crush? We don't need to have heavy equipment. We just need to have a blender and some few extractor to add value to this product and also do the distribution. And also, how do we support the forward integration? The distribution part of the system, the customer relationship management. How do we begin to get the customer's behavior? Someone or some of us can do it. And it's something that I think we need to begin to do. How do we support bread sellers? Someone in my village is doing something around that axis too. He's collecting about 7 different breads from Kanu, and he's selling in the village. And a lot of work is undergoing around this area. So how do we begin? Because we have gap in the food value chain. How do we begin to turn around this? So I give you an example. This is one of the takeaway I have gotten. And the funny thing is, this is not in Nigeria. All this takeaway that you have seen here is not from Nigeria. I got it elsewhere. And it's something I think we need to improve. Yes, there is other processing, online other food processing in Nigeria, but it takes time. By the time you get the food, it's already cold. Or you may not like even the taste of the food because we don't have recipe. How do we begin to digitalize our local recipe online? I can begin to talk to all the akara sellers, all the memory sellers within my neighborhood. Let me have their databases. Then I can begin to give them, send them text message about ways to improve in their food processing, and so on and so on. And also, how do I connect fish farmers? A colleague of mine is doing this type of things in Kuje, in Abuja. He consolidated about, I think, 20 or 30 farmers, and is giving them a lot of support. And there is also another guy that is into organic food, and he's collecting. He had about, I think, about 50 farms that are under his custody, and he's now becoming to be the leader in that angle. So, and it's not about just starting a farm. You may not need to go to start a farm, but you could begin to aggregate this type of things. And this is the watermelon, you know. And sadly, I took this picture by my camera. And after harvesting this watermelon, it takes about 4 days before the driver arrived. And a lot of agitation, a lot of temper, a lot of anxiety from the farmers. You can imagine harvesting your hard-earned watermelon after putting about 2-3 years, and driver or the intermediary may not be there as at when you want. So there is a lot of gap that I think we can, and also logistics. How do we integrate logistics, value chain, beyond just Uber and Excel riders and Samport, and God is good and ABC Motors? How do we create a link from Gumel to Kazauri? How do I send things from Gumel to Kazauri seamlessly? How do I send the fura in Hadeja to someone that wants fura in Barbara without having to travel? How do I send the fresh fish from Guri to Guaram without having to travel? So we need to begin to ideate and begin to put solution towards that angle. And how do we support this SME, a local farmer, the akara seller? I know in some towns there is something so unique that others don't have. How do we begin to package a solution that can seamlessly flow without having to go to Kano? And how do we support these possible opportunities within logistics, operations, and market? How do we help this guy to sell their product, to get value? The Masuya we have, the lady who is doing small chops, Algaragis, Tua Madara, and so on and so on. How do we put them together? And I believe it's something that we can make a lot of difference from there. In the first instance, we are supporting them to have value beyond just giving it at any price. We can begin to have to give them hope. They can begin to start to farm. That guaranteed, if they plant this, they will sell. And that's what all these guys want. And lastly, how do we support this guy who is ironing people's clothes? We all have the same issue. We get frustrated by those guys that are ironing and doing laundry. How do we begin to help them? How do we change their status quo? How do we take away the burden of logistics or planning? The tailors, the guys that have the kiosks, how do we give them eyes? How do we begin to support? So there is a lot of things I think we need to do. We don't need to begin to think about getting job in NNPC, in CBN, in ministries, and we can begin to have a clean money without having to struggle. I shared this story a couple of times. I have a laundry, and in some cases, my income from the laundry is bigger than my annual salary. In some cases, in some years. So it's something that I think we need to begin. People say, why are you doing laundry? There is value in it. Simple automation of the laundry system. CCTV camera, people need to be in charge. So I think we can, even gas, we have a startup that is doing gas, and we even use, when we started the gas business, we talked to our colleagues and businesses, and in fact we talked to Owondo is giving us free 50 kg cylinder, and we just give you free cylinder as far as you be buying gas from us, but the family and friends stop buying from us, so we add margin of about 500 naira. But we're taking that burden from you. You just need the gas. You call us. We'll come to your house. We pick the cylinder. We do the delivery. We bring in. So that's what we do. But along the way, we didn't see value in that. So we have to move around to begin to talk to secondary schools, hospitals, big restaurants. And we guarantee them we'll be giving you gas. And a lot of value is coming from that angle. So how do we begin to aggregate this type of businesses? And literacy and infomediation. How do I begin to do UTME tutorial? In my village, whenever I go to village, I ask young people, what do you want to see? How do you think you can help the community? They say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be engineers. But sadly, they don't get that opportunity to study medicine because they have low jump scores. In my village, the last time we produced medical doctor, I think it's almost 12 years. It's very sad. Even engineers, it's been long we produce engineers, even lawyers, because the young chaps from the village cannot pass jam. So how do I begin to mentor young people that guarantee if you come through my tutorial, you have 200 jam point and above? Guarantee if you come through my tutorial, I'll give you 5 credit. I'm not helping you to cheat, but I'm going to give you tutorial. People will begin to patronize you, even if you have 10. Just collect 5,000 from them. It's a big money. Guidance and counseling is an area that I think we need to start exploiting. We need to start guiding our younger generations so that they don't end up being out of the university, but they cannot get a job. Some of our courses and curriculum need to be out of the classroom. Digital literacy. How do I begin to do this type of digital literacy? How do I begin to champion a section or a training that can convert people into digital competency? How do I give digital citizenship training? What of homeschooling and neighborhood? Digitalization of educational, historical, cultural, and religious content. How do I begin to digitize the history of my village into a compendium? I know NUC is giving universities and polytechnics 2 million, to compile what they have been given and what they have done. Even lifestyle and coaching. How do I begin to advise people to remain fit, not to have hypertension or diabetics? Financial literacy. Majority of us got hacked or got spammed. And also, how do I begin to organize a training on cybersecurity and so on and so on? So there is a lot of value we could begin to how do I begin to digitalize undergraduate curriculum in a flash drive? You know, we do used to get lecture notes from from all the sheikhs and ulamas, but I've never seen a flash drive where we have a video talking about constitution or federalisms. So how do we begin to digitize this type of content? We know there is copyright issues, but how do we begin to do things in a different way? And this business process orientation, how do I work with somebody in the IT? I'm a trained accountant. I know how accounting system work. How can I work with an accountant to build an ERP that can support a petty trader, somebody that owns a shop, to have a portal or a website? I've seen many posters. Youth are really trying to build a website in 10,000 naira. I know a guy that is building every business website at 10,000 naira. And from the last check I had with him, he built almost almost 200 websites. You can imagine 10,000 naira times 200 is a big money. He just need to sleep. Customer center. How do I manage a customer center for a business? If you have issue with your bank, in fact, recently I had issue with my bank. I called the customer care center. A lady from Ghana picked the call. And out of anger, I dropped the call because it's a job that my brothers and sisters need to have, but we outsource everything. So how do I begin to collect businesses that I can support them? Somebody that is selling suya in my neighborhood. How do I begin to take call for him on his behalf and add my 300, 400 naira? So there is a lot of things we can do around this axis. We can automate the accounting system, supply chain, you know, data collection. How do I begin to collect data for your business, analyze the data for you, store the data for you as a service? You pay me when you use. And there is so many free tools that we can use to do this. How do I begin to help undergraduate students to begin to collect data on their own without having to print? And I tell you something, most of our colleagues don't collect data. They just, you know, put whatever they have. And so there is a lot of value system we could drive here. And data collection. You know, I grabbed this picture from one of the services that I have benefited. For almost 3 months, he has been calling me. He just wants to collect data about me. And he booked, he planned, and he got the data. And how do we begin to do this type of things? And it's not only universities that are collecting data, even government. As I've said earlier, a lot of work is ongoing. Renewable energy is a big issue. I've talked about it. In my village, whenever the inverter is faulty, somebody have to come from Kano. And that's why most of the time, the solar boreholes, the solar inverters are not working. And there is nothing difficult to do in solar. We did some training around that area, and a lot of value has been derived. How do I become a solar champion in my village? How do I begin to recycle old batteries? You know, a colleague of mine from Zampara, he's doing something around that area. He's collecting old car batteries, trying to create a smaller lighting system that can just power a house. You know, recycling old batteries. And I'm sure if we have time, we can invite him, Dr. Najib, to talk to us. He got about $30,000 grant to see how he can light up school children to be able to work from home at night without having to use lamp. There is a lot of issues I think we can derive from this solar system, energy, economy, and so on and so on. And also entertainment. This is my friend Suleiman. I was in Lagos I think it's in 2019, and I think 19 or 20, and he's a guy behind Big Brother Nigeria. He's a good friend of mine. We have been together for quite a while, and when he took me down to the house, and sadly, all the guys I found there are South Africans, including a cleaner. Even the lady maintaining this board is from South Africa. I say, why? He said, because Nigerians are not ready to work. I said, did you give them all the opportunity for them to function? So, and this is a debate myself and him are doing. I say, I don't think You need to bring almost everybody from somewhere to do this type of job. But while we have the talent, although he had his own reservation, but even us that are professional, that are computer scientists, beyond just Excel and Word, can we do something serious with computers? How many of us can configure router, can configure switch, can do forensic audit, can write a code in R programming or Scala? I'm not sure we can do this. So there is a lot of things I think we need to do. Dr. Najib, I have to stop here to let you round up.
Thank you so much for taking time. Let me share my screen so that I can quickly finish this within 10 to 15 minutes, please.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm trying to share the screen. Are you able to see my screen, please? Let us give a context to this presentation. The main objective started when I realized that a fortnight ago, or nearly 3 weeks ago, we realized that there was this passing out parade of the Nigerian Youth Service Corps members. Then I talked to Dr. Islam and informed him that we need to do something because some of our graduates are farthing out and they don't have anywhere to go. And I could recall like 10 years ago when I was the head of department at Gaza Polytechnic, I used to interview some of the core members that after their NYC, what next? Most of them, they hardly had any idea on how to go about it. They were there looking for a job. So that is why we said, okay, let us inform people where they can likely go and find these jobs. So for examples, what we normally used to learn or used to know is we focus our attention in finding job from either local government, state government, or federal government. Hardly some of us look elsewhere. That is why we are trying to provide this kind of awareness. So one of the potential places people hardly look for is to take advantage of the LinkedIn job portal, whereby once you provide all the information required by you and click on a facility that says I'm interested for job, then they will, and you go and find off for job alert based on your discipline and in your interest, LinkedIn will serve as a very good place to keep sending you an alert on the available jobs there. I believe there are over 100,000 jobs there. It only requires people to explore that type of job. And depending on how you configure the email, you can be getting this email daily, weekly, monthly, or fortnightly. Another place is this Google for Jobs. Google created a portal called Google Job. So all you need to do is go sign up, look for the job that you feel like you are interested, and look at the location of the job. It is available, and they will keep sending you a lot of job alerts. Another one is Indeed. Indeed is another international website that aggregates job posting, and people can take advantage of this website. Another one, we call it CareerJet. CareerJet also provide all the job listing across the world. So you may not likely be confined to work only in Nigeria. Another one has to do with Glassdoor. Glassdoor is also another job portal. There is this Relief Web. I believe for now, even if you can go to reliefweb.int, you can find 100,000 of jobs based on different criteria. You can search the job, Is it temporary job you are looking for, permanent jobs, or you are looking for internship, or you are looking for consulting job? And it breaks down to different type of job. Is it in the IT? Is it in administration? Is it in what type area you will find it, and across the country, across the nation, and it gives you the capability to look for a beginner, somebody with an experience. So all these websites will really help you. Another one is United Nations Careers. For people that are interested, UN Careers also have this, what they call Telegram link, where you can have over 10,000 jobs available there. There is Microsoft career websites, there is ALNAP career websites, there is also Monster. They all provide all this type of job available for people to take advantage of. However, there is another one for our teachers. That is this Teach Away. If you are interested in teaching somewhere around the world, then you can take advantage of this website called Teach Away. And one interesting thing about Teach Away, it connects you with different school proprietors around the world. But for you to be able to be eligible for this job, you need to go and find out what it requires for you to teach internationally. So you need to prepare for that. That is ZipRecruiter also provide job listing. Jobberman also provide job listing. DICE also provide job listing, especially for IT people. So I hope that some of you can take advantage of all this. When we share the slide, you will find a link to each of these websites I mentioned. Let's talk about a case study of one of these websites. One of the things I can share a simple example of some of the messages. Advantage of LinkedIn over all these job listing websites is, in LinkedIn, most of the professional recruiters approach a candidate depending on how you presented yourself on a LinkedIn. If you present yourself professionally, you provide all the certifications you have, you introduce yourself with an attention-grabbing introduction, and you have shown that you have all that it takes to work anywhere in the world, definitely recruiters are there looking for the best talent. Here is an example. This one, I got this email. A recruiter just came to my inbox and shared this example. It was saying, "Hi Najib, I hope you and yours are keeping well in these challenging times. I was very impressed with your background and wanted to reach out as I had several computing and maths teaching positions leading independent school in London and the southeast of England from September 2020. So it was saying, if you are available, please contact me for confidential chat. Here is an example of how these recruiters are coming to not only you, going to them. So the most important thing is have a grab attention introduction, provide everything that will make you look professional on LinkedIn. That is how these people will keep coming. Here is another example. This one is from Rachel Brown. She's a senior recruitment specialist. She said, "Hello Najib, I have come across your profile and you have the experience that I require for some senior position that I'm recruiting for worldwide. Please provide me the best contact number so I can ring you and discuss in a lot of more detail." That one was in October 2020. Here is another one. Open to new opportunities. Someone, Christopher Coyle, just send an email to me on whether if I'm open to opportunity. She said, "I encountered your LinkedIn profile just now. Your background summary looks fantastic and very much in line with the caliber of teaching assistant we are seeking to work with our client. Your profile suggests you are open to new opportunities. Please email your CVs through hello@magisters.co.uk. Here is another one. Data role in financial sector with niche firm. It's saying, "Just want to reach out to you, Najib, to see if you may be interested in a data-centric position that will require you to code in Python, R, and have experience with SAS and SQL." Here is another example. So you can see just an examples where recruiters are coming to you asking on whether you will be available for the job. Nonetheless, we need to understand the qualities that attract able recruiters' attention. Because like I used to discuss with a lot of people looking for the job. When I ask them to send their CV, the moment I have seen their CV, I can understand that there is a serious issue with the way we craft our CV in Nigeria. So I think there are certain things that we must make sure that it helps to attract this type of people if you are interested in finding job anywhere. The first thing has to do with outstanding result. You know, not every recruiter at the moment will be interested with looking at somebody with no outstanding result. So make sure that you have an outstanding result, which is really makes somebody attractive to other people. Another thing has to do with certifications. For example, if I am looking for people to apply for a job in my organization, so like 10,000 people with degree and they have second class upper division. Do you think I will take all the 10,000? No, definitely I will look at people that are unique. How do I find people that are unique? I look at among those 10,000 people with degree, among these 10,000 people with first class, whom among them also have additional qualification, certification. For example, if you are an IT guy, are you certified? Are you a Cisco certified? Are you a SAS certified? Are you an SAP certified? Are you a certified this and that? If you are not a certified, definitely I will not pick you. I will look at the guys with an additional certification. This shows that these people will go extra mile to learn something. So for you to excel and make yourself unique, I think certification is also really, really important. Not only certification, you'll find out that there are different organizations that award badges. Besides being a certified this and that, you will find out that they will ask you to have badges. For example, when this pandemics came up, so the issue of distance learning teaching comes up. The issue of teaching remotely comes up. So I have to go and find where I will learn something. That is where I went to Nearport. Nearport is another technology company that specializes in providing a seamless online teaching. So they provide different type of badges. That is why I went and enrolled in one of their certification, and I became a Nearport certified distance learning expert. So I think there are different places that provide badges. Make sure you go and obtain all these badges. And even NITDA is providing badges and other certifications like IBM, like Google, like Coursera, like X. All these provide badges. So are places that you can really go and add color to your CV. Not only that, one other thing I realized most of us are not taking advantage has to do with internship. So this internship, you can find it, you can do a remote internship. You can do internship because like most of recruiters are interested in people with real life experience, and this comes mostly with internship. I knew the way we do service in Nigeria doesn't make it more attractive to recruiters internationally. Nonetheless, you can have your service, you can get your experience, but the most important thing, if there is any place that you can find for internship, is really, really important. It is unfortunate that conventional Nigerian higher institution doesn't look at it as something that they can make their graduates more attractive. Because like countries abroad used to find this internship so that they can show to other people that when you come to our university or you come to our institutions, we are going to link you to the industry so that you can have an experience. This makes them attractive to other people. Today in the morning, I was seeing Eastern Mediterranean University is trying to take advantage of the success of that guy from Kaduna, whom Nasir El-Rufai appointed as a director in one of his ministries, a young guy of about 34 or 33 years. So the Eastern Mediterranean University is now taking advantage to congratulate that guy, to show to people that come to our universities, that is where you get success. But some of our universities doesn't allow people to go for internship. So for those who graduate from the university and are looking for a job, I will advise them, let them go to that website, reliefweb.int, or they go to UN Careers. There are a lot of internship there. Just before you apply, go and learn how to make an attention-grabbing CV, go and learn how to write an attention-grabbing cover letter, and provide all the achievement, and make sure you find any mentor to show you how to write a CV, a cover letter, so that your chances will be up. So internship is really, really important. I will give you an example. When I was in London, I saw Humanitarian Institute, an institute in Australia, looking for interns from Canberra or from Sydney. Then I said, I like this job because like my interest is in emergencies, and these guys are looking for intern in this humanitarian institute, and I believe it will add color to my CV. Then I sent an email attaching my CV to the guy looking for the interns. I told him I am the most deserved candidate for this job, and he sent an email. He said, you have an interesting CV, although you are not in Australia. I think we can have a meeting so that I can learn more from you. And when we had a meeting, I was opportune to serve as a remote intern for 7 months with that organization. So I believe it's one thing that will add color to your CV. Not only that, one of the things that we hardly value has to do with volunteer work. Most of these organizations, international organizations you are looking to work with, they really value volunteers, and it's really missing in our CV, volunteer work. Go to United Nations career websites. Go and search for volunteer work in UN. You will find a lot of volunteer work depending on your specialization, interest, and discipline. If you can find work there, you can find volunteer work. They are not going to pay you. Go there, add color. It will add really color to your CV. It will record your hours, because like in the UN and other organizations, they value volunteers. They look at every hour you spend doing a volunteer work equivalent to 24.5 cents, $24.05. So when you come up, you say like you have 500 volunteer hour, this is something they will really like. This, they will say this guy is a selfless guy. I think we are going to give him a job. Not only, you need to have these soft and hard skills. You know, this land was talking about digital competencies. It's really, really important. Soft skills like coordination, communication, collaboration, ability to have critical thinking, and all this teamwork, collaboration are all part of soft skills. They cannot understand that you have all these skills until you have an experience in internship or in volunteer work. Another thing we hardly work on is like if you go to UN career website, one of the things when you apply to be a consultant or a temporary job or any other job, once you are qualified, they will ask you to go and take an aptitude test. So we should learn how to improve our aptitudinal proficiency. So you need to go and do your homework, learn how what type of aptitude test this organization provide, so that you can really scale about that. Another important thing has to do with digital footprint. You guys, whatever you share on social media will one day come to haunt you. If you share professional work, if you share volunteer work, if you share the way you help people, that is how when you make an application, the volunteers will really come to your website, your Facebook, your Twitter account, your LinkedIn account, look at your digital footprint and see on whether are you a serious guy? Are you somebody that we can rely on? So if you are not presenting yourself online professionally, that is going to be a minus. I could recall Pius Adeyemi, late Professor Pius Adeyemi, was given an instance on how to be good on social media, on how somebody should be very, very careful when it comes to writing on social media. He said, a recruiter asked him, he said, "Hi, Oga Professor Pius Adeyemi, there was this guy who applied for the job in our organization. However, he put your name as his referee. But when we went through his Facebook post, we learned that he shared one post that he said one of the things he hates is waking up early in the morning. And this job entails somebody to start as early as possible. So we don't know on whether we can offer him a job. You can see this is just an off-topic discussion that the guy has put on his Facebook account, but it's now coming back to haunt him because, like he said, he's not an early morning guy, and the job he is applying, I think he was applying, and tells him to wake up early in the morning. So that is what has happened. And Pius Ademi, he said, actually, he has no idea on whether what he has written is what he really meant, or whether he's not a morning guy or he's a morning guy. So I think we should be very careful with that. So these are some of the qualities that recruiters are looking out at us. So that is one alternative. When we said job everywhere, we believe all these websites we gave, like LinkedIn, Google for Job, Monster, like DICE, like UN Career website, like Microsoft Career website, like ALNAV, like LibWeb, they are all websites that provide job. It is there. It is only up to you to provide a convincing CV with a convincing cover letter that is really, really meaningful and useful to them. So once you learn how to do that, the sky will be your limit. And I will really inform you that you don't need to say you apply like 5 times and boom, you get the job. I will want to manage your expectation that based on the knowledge I learned over the years, especially there are different websites that will tell you I applied for 70 jobs before I received like 5 different invites, and out of these 5 different invites, only one I was able to be successful. So you don't need to just go and write your CV and you expect once you are done with one CV, you are done with it. And one thing I will want to tell you is every job opportunity requires a different CV. Don't just write one CV and keep sending the CV to people. They will definitely reject. You need to write an attention-grabbing CV based on the competencies they are requiring as well as the skills they are looking for. So for those who are not interested in going into the job-related work, I talk about entrepreneurship. So some of this entrepreneurial work that you can start is I provide different potential domains. One of the domains is intermediaries, information entrepreneurs. One of the things you can do is to sell information. How do you sell information? One of this is through video content creation and monetization. There is a lot of money there. You don't need to know to have a computer degree. You don't need to have a diploma in information system or in information technology or in computer science. You can do video content creation and monetization. Here is an example of video content creation and monetization. This is a lady called Crystal Wascher. This Crystal Wascher created a channel called Create with Crystal. When she created this channel, he created 5 videos. Out of these 5 videos, she has like 9.14 subscribers at 2020, and her monthly estimated revenue, she shared in one of her blog posts that within the last 6 months, every month she gets not less than $510. When we converted $1, that was then, it was about 475, and this lady used to get like 237,500, minimum of 237,500 per month. This money she is getting is just a side hustle. Let's say Rislan is a director at Base University, IT director at Base University. So beside his director work, he also lectures there. Beside his lecturing job, he said, let me create a job on how to invest in Bitcoin. So you see, the Base University will pay for his money, and every month he will be getting like 237,500 naira. So when I presented this kind of paper in Gombe, I asked them, how long do you think somebody will work as a state government to earn 237,500 per month? When I presented this paper in Gumel, I said at least if you are working, if you are not a health personnel or a lecturer or a teacher or a lawyer working in a state government, it will take you up to like 15 years working in a government to get 237,500 per month. So you can see with 5 videos for 6 months, she was getting 237,500 minimum for those just 5 videos. And you see, from January, that is January to October, she got 4,418.40 pence or 0.40 cents from Google, because she monetized from YouTube, because she monetized the video, which is equivalent to 2,098,500. So I think for some of us that believe like, if I don't have a job, then you need to start thinking of how can I create a content that will keep pitching me money by the way of monetization. And you see, like yesterday we were discussing with one guy. He told me that a director in Jigawa state government who put in 27 years working, he retired, he spent 27 years working as a director. What he will get is less than 3 million as his pension. But see what this lady is getting. And you see, in all these 5 videos, we are talking about the number of views is less than 300,000. So that is why I said, if we can juxtapose what this woman has, like what this Crystal created 5 videos, and she has less than 300,000 views, how can we say how much does this guy going to get? Somebody created a video how to tie a tie. So this video is only 5 minutes 40 seconds on YouTube, and it generated 77,975,114 views as far as 1 month ago. I don't know on whether now it's maybe around 78. Just to tell you how to tie a tie, and he has only 353,000 likes on the video. So what do you think, or how much do you think this guy will get? Not only that, look at the Nas Daily, the guy who always share video on Facebook. This guy, as at 1 month ago, he has about 8,550,000 likes on his web page Nas Daily, on his Facebook page Nas Daily. He has 19 million followers, and one of his video, Why Singapore Loves Mosquitoes, he has over 50.7 million views. So if someone with less than 300,000 views will get 273,000, what will happen to you if you decide to be a video content creator and will get a lot of this view? And when I went through Nas Daily videos, you will see that the average at minimum, you will see he has in each video nearly like 4 million views. And there was a time he created 1,000 videos. Every day he will create 1 video for 1,000 days. So how much do you think this guy is earning? So I think there is a market in video content monetization and creation. Another way you can find is in photography. Photography, you can monetize photography. You can be an event photographer, adventure photographer, wildlife photographer, open photographer, and you can sell all your photography either in Adobe Stock, Shutterstock, Alani, and you can sell all this and people can give you money. But unfortunately, we are so good in uploading pictures on social media, but we don't know how to monetize the picture. Not only that, there is another way we can encourage our people to get money using freelancing. There are websites like, there are activities that we can do like voicing, voiceover, customer care, writing, transcription. People can do all this. You can do website design. You can do a logo design. You can serve as a lot of things so that you can get money, and you can get money all through this type of website, Upwork, Fiverr, TopTal, Freelancer. It all boils down to how you present yourself, the type of work you do, and the kind of copies of work you uploaded on that website. That is why doing this type of job will make you get your money. And not only that, there is another market called social media marketing. People can be social media marketers. You can be a social media marketer on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. You can do a structured marketing. Unfortunately, what I have been seeing going on around Nigeria is you will only parade yourself as a social media assistant of a governor or an aspiring governor, just like what Ruslan was saying. But the only thing you learn is just how to share the picture of the governor to be, or the minister to be, or a politician when he go for funeral prayer, when he go for condolences during wedding. That is all you know. You don't have the data on what people are saying about your boss. You don't know how to do a targeted marketing. Somebody who understands social media marketing will use not organic marketing. She will really encourage his boss to go into sponsored marketing, where they will be able to scope how many people they want, how many people they want engage in, how many people they want to combat, how many people, what type of people are you want to advertise your boss. Are you interested in advertising him so that only graduates living in Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, holding like this type of phone, like an iPhone? You are looking for elites, those who read social book, those who travel to the social country. With all LinkedIn, with Facebook, with Twitter, you can all structured and find all these people and send your marketing to them. But our people are so lazy, they only learn social media marketing by sending the picture of their boss, nothing more, nothing less. So you can learn all these using Facebook Blueprint. You can go to Twitter Flight School. You can get started with LinkedIn. You can use Allison Diploma in Social Media Strategy. You can use HubSpot Academy free social marketing courses. You can go to Oxford Home Study Center free social media marketing courses. You can learn all this through all this. When we share the slide with you, you can go directly and learn how to do this social media marketing. I think we are already up our time, so I will stop here. If there is any question, we can answer the question. So in essence, this presentation entails that if you are looking for job, we have provided places and we create awareness on potential places that you can find available jobs there. Or if you are looking to be an independent person, you can really be an independent person. Thank you so much for your time and for your attention. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Islan and Dr. Najib, for this, plethora of information that we need. Let me just highlight a few things. Like when you listen to these speakers, you'll see that they're talking about technology, digital technology. Actually, technology has come to stay, and it has encroached and covered all aspects of our lives, from education, social, religious, economical, whatever you want to do now. Even if you want to collect garbage in the right way or in a modern way, you need technology to tap into that. So whatever you do now, we need to be, we need to rethink everything. And I counted when Dr. Islan was making his presentation, he asked more than 120 questions. How can we do that? Why can we do that? When can you do this? Who can do, he asked more than 120, which indicates that Nigeria is a virgin land in terms of opportunities. Whatever you want to do, we have all the resources. What we need, or the main thing that we need to work on, is how to change our mindset. And how can we do that? Is first of all, define the word job. When you say job, to an average Nigerian, is a government or white collar job that I need to finish my school, whether I just passed the school, get my certificate, I go to NNPC, FIRS, NCC, all those things. That's what we assume to be job. But from this presentation, we learned that we have a world of opportunity that we are missing out just because we have a mindset that is fixed to a certain, wrong perception about how we should live our lives. So we just want to compete with somebody. Just now I learned that a data, out of every 100 graduates, only one gets a job. And even that one, all those that got the job, they must have high, long leg or connection or whatever local term you would want to use. So there are opportunities that we can, leverage on. So every side you look, wherever you are, just look at your left, right, front, back, center, wherever you look is an opportunity. The main thing that we need to work on is the mindset. How do we change our mindset? And we need to start from somewhere, like Dr. Rislan mentioned earlier, that you don't need to be perfect to start, or you don't need to have huge capital to start, to begin anything. Just look at something that you can do without any effort. Try from there. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid to fail, because Albert Einstein says, if you have never make a mistake, that means you have never tried something new. So we need to start somewhere, start exploring, and sometimes you even need to think crazy, because there are a lot of ideas, a lot of opportunities. So we need to rethink everything. We have opportunity, we have human resources, natural resources, a lot of things are there. Of course, we have local challenge like power, internet, security, all these things, but we can work around those things and see, how can we live with it? How can we improvise and start something? And we can double. And sometimes it doesn't have to be you. For example, if I think of garbage collection business, for example, and I'm ashamed to be, collecting garbage, you can organize others who can do it, then you manage. So there are a lot of opportunities that you can create and then present yourself to those opportunities. So don't sit down and wait, because you will rot and nothing will come out of that. So everyone to himself, and your creativity, your idea, your commitment will give you a lot of head start. So without taking too much of your time, if you have any question, please you can ask. Just maybe one or two, because we've already gone off time. I'm sure a lot of you may be tired of listening to so many ideas, but a recording will be sent after this, and meanwhile, let's take like 2 or 3 questions and see, and then close the meeting. So do we have? From the comment, I've seen a lady, Zeki, asking that most graduate, if you ask them to go from what they learned from university, they go out to practice it, they will say no. They wait for, like a white collar job. I don't think we need to go into details about educational system. There are a lot of issues there. But the best thing to do is, first of all, to counsel people. I'm a lecturer at Informatics Kazori, and I have a lot of students that I sat with and guide them on what to do. A lot of youngsters, they have no idea what to do. All they want, okay, I want to hold an iPhone 12. I want to ride a nice car and dress well, take a picture, post on social media. That's what they know most. But if you sit with them and explain to them there are more to do in life than just showing up these cosmetics, and just to impress people you don't know. So you go into trouble, go into depression just because you want to have something you have no, you have no means. So instead, why can't you use your brain? What you learn in school, can you translate it into practice? Can you do this? Can you explore this? A lot of things, can be done. We go into trouble. I think if I can quote somebody says, we society go into trouble because we buy things we don't need to impress people we don't love with the money we don't have. That is why we are in trouble. I just want to buy an iPhone and buy a very big car I cannot maintain just to impress ladies or our neighborhood. No, you don't need to do that. So we need to be looking inward and start to look at realities and then see how best we can live a good life. But we need to counsel the students or the youngsters that are coming that there is more to do. You need to have patience and you need to plan for your life. So just having those, fancy things will not put food on the table. So what can you do to try and, live a better life? So counseling, I think, is one of the ways. I think Dr. Najib and Dr. Islan mentioned it earlier that we need to counsel those youth. We need to target them, tell them, okay, the realities, about life. So if you want to enjoy, of course, nothing good comes easy. So you need to prepare for those things. So we need to have patience. We need to have, commitment, a lot of things anyway. But we need to start from basics. And another question is, how do you develop a good LinkedIn profile as well? If you have the skills, you can do it, or you can search online. There are many, but at the same time, there are freelancers, that are very good when you go to Fiverr or all this, the freelancing website. There are people that are specialized in this development. You want to build a CV for certain things, they can advise you and they can even help you write some of the things. And if it is a social media profile also, there are experts in there. You tell them, okay, this is my background, this is what I know. You just give them all the data you have and they will craft a very captivating, so there is no harm in doing that because it's not something to be examined. It's just to present yourself the best way so that you can attract your potential, employers or business partners. So I think it's something you can explore. And is there any other thing? So is there any question? If we don't have question, I think we can round up things and we will send you the slides and the video after the webinar. All right. So, yeah. Any question?
My question is, how do we get the slide? Is it through email addresses, or are you going to send a link to the chat?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think we will send it. We will send a Google Drive with both the video and the slides, so that you can just click and download or view online, as long as you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. So, I think in the absence of any question, you have our email, and I think when we send the videos, you have our emails, or you already have our emails, the one we send the invitation and reminders. So you will get these things, and you can ask questions, or if you have anything else that you think we might help, please send it in. We will look at it and then revert back. And if you can spread the words, we are doing things for for just to help our society. We know a little things, but teaching, by teaching we are learning, and by learning we are improving. So all of us here are here to help one another, learn from each other. It's just to to move on. And please, at your own capacity and ability, please do the same to your neighborhoods, to your friends. Try to give them the right message they need to know, so that we can at least move forward from where we are now. So with this, thanks everyone for coming, and good luck in every life endeavor. Thank you.